Hello friends, welcome to this lecture on UDR and network virtual appliances. So UDR is user defined routing. So again, both of these are network security controls with the help of which we'll be able to route and manage the traffic within the Azure. So before studying that, okay, what is user-defined route? We need to understand that, okay, whenever we create a VNet within the Azure or virtual network, so we create the different subnets. Azure automatically provides the address space or creates a certain rules within the VNet to manage the traffic or that how the traffic will flow for the different subnets. So the rules which are automatically created by Azure are called as the system routes, and you'll not be able to delete or remove the or modify the default route. So whenever, let's say, you need to manage the traffic or route the traffic according to your need, the or the users, or you can create the user defined roles that okay how the traffic will flow, like what will be the next stop if you want the traffic will flow through the internet, if your traffic will flow through the VPN gateway, right? So that number of next stops are there with the help of which the traffic will be forwarded. So whenever in default route is created, each route contains a certain address prefix. Let's say 000 or let's say 1000 depending on the address range which you have applied. So basically, when that traffic will leave, let's say a particular subnet, let's say this is a front-end subnet and this is having a specific address space, and this is a back-end subnet having a different address space. So in that case, every subnet has some kind of address prefix. So in that case, when that traffic, leaving a subnet is sent to an IP address with the address prefix or route, that particular route contains the prefix that okay, basically that when the traffic will leave this particular subnet, let's say this, what will be the next stop, right? Maybe let's say front end, the traffic will leave, how the packets will be forwarded to this VM or to this CM, right? So in user-defined route, we have that address space and the next stop that could be virtual network, internet. So there are different things like if you'll see, there are when these default routes are created, we have the address space and the next stop type that it should be virtual network or internet or it could be none. So we'll discuss in those. So those were the default routes which are created. And now, if we want that okay packet should flow or the traffic flow as per our need, then we define the user defined routes, which we call it as UDR. So UDR is like your user defined routes allows you to control traffic in your network with the custom routes, and you can attach these route table to the subnets. And so if you'll see the diagram, these are basically, the traffic which will flow, let's say from the front end subnet. So in this case, the user route is defined that, okay, the traffic will go through this particular VM if, or that traffic needs to be forwarded uh, to the internet. So similarly, there is a user defined route that, okay, if the traffic needs to be go through the this backend subnet, then it will go to this particular virtual machine appliance, right? So in that case, we create a user-defined route that okay, if the traffic needs to go to the backend subnet, then the next hop would be this appliance. And in case the traffic needs to go to the internet for the front-end subnet, then the user-defined, then another route is defined for forwarding the traffic to this particular VM, which has the IP forwarding enabled so that the traffic can be sent to the internet. So in this virtual network, we have the like subnets, and so there is already a default route traffic within the subnets is allowed or traffic within the VNet is allowed. But we want that okay, traffic flow should occur as per our need. Then we created the different different you can say the different routes. So uh, you can see that when we can use that, let's say if you have the site-to-site VPN and would like that all traffic should go to the tunnel, uh, you know, through on-premise appliance, then you can force that tunnel to that particular gateway. You can mention that particular, next hop as your gateway. Similarly, like if you have an appliance as a part of your VNet within the Azure, like we have here, you can route the traffic to and from this particular appliance, right? Or as per your need. So this is how user-defined routing work. So let's try to understand the user-defined routes in bit more detail. So if you'll see, this is the snapshot wherein we have the default routes. All you can see the source is default only. Let's say when you create a particular virtual network with a particular address space. So all the routes are active if you say, right? And these are the address space. So let's say if you want, this particular network, then the next hop would be virtual network. And if you want to go to 00, let's say the next hop would be internet. So similarly, all the address prefixes has been given over here. Now these are the custom routes, and these are the next hop. So next hop could be any, like uh, whenever we create a let's say user defined route, there are a number of options which Microsoft provides. We can mention the virtual this we can mention the next hop as your virtual appliance, like we have already mentioned. It could be your virtual network gateway, right? Or you can it could be internet as well, or we can mention none as well. So let's study the option none as a next hop. So if you'll see the this particular diagram, we have created a user defined rule. So whenever we create a rule, it is active, and in that case we have, let's say, for 000, right? We have mentioned the next hop as none. So none basically, as a next hop when we create, when you want to drop the packet to a particular address fix, right? Rather than forwarding the traffic to a destination. So in that case, we can mention as none. So here the packet for the internet is dropped over here. So if you'll see, user defined route name you have defined that, okay, internet has been disabled, disable internet. So my apologies for that. Okay, this diagram is little bit fuzzy, but if you'll see that, okay, user defined rule active, but we have dropped the packet for the internet. And if you'll see, the automatic rule becomes the invalid in this case because the traffic is not allowed in this case. So this is how we define the user defined routes, wherein we can forward the traffic as per our need. And then we have the network virtual appliances. So network virtual appliances are nothing but, think from a perspective that, okay, there is a need, since in on-premise you can have the physical appliances like Cisco ASR or Palo Alto or router, right, or Juniper. In case of cloud, if you need similar devices, so think of the VMs or already created images which are there in the Azure Marketplace. So if you'll search on marketplace, you'll get all these things. So think of a VM that can perform these specific functions like think from a security that, okay, you need a firewall, IDS, IPS, Cisco CSR for routing perspective. For as per as your need, there are different types of VMs which are already available in the Azure Marketplace. Or let's say you need some image. Which is already having the Unix hardening, right? Or as per the CIS benchmarking. So those kind of images are already available, and they're different costing. So if you'll see the diagram from the US perspective, you can get a CentOS, Debian, Red Hat, SUSE, or Ubuntu. Similarly, in case of security, you can get the Barracuda, Checkpoint, right? The Cisco devices, Fortinet, Palo Alto. So all these devices are there. Similarly, in data analytics, you can get different devices like Splunk and all those things. Similarly, in case of storage and backup. So all these devices, you will get a kind of a virtual machine image which you can straightaway deploy and configure as per your need within your Azure cloud, right? So need that one could be compliance that, okay, you need a consistency between the on-premise and Azure. Maybe you are having a Cisco checkpoint and you need a Cisco checkpoint in your cloud network as well. Similarly, you need to increase your cloud capabilities. You want to configure the firewall rules with the Palo Alto. You want to use the IDS IPS capability of Palo Alto. So all those things you can configure. So, like I mentioned that, okay, all these things are mentioned in the Azure Marketplace, like network virtual appliances. So Azure Marketplace is nothing but the devices are available through the Microsoft certification program, that Microsoft certifies that, okay, these devices or these appliances are valid. And there is also an option that, okay, customer can also bring in their own device. Let's say you can go ahead and have a certain VM with a Linux installed onto it or an image, and then you can harden that particular Linux image, and you can put it on a marketplace. You can also sell it over there as per, and if someone will purchase, you'll get a share of all that as per the pricing you will set. So network virtual appliances are really like if you want to forward the traffic as per your need, like we have mentioned, we can use this if you want to use a let's say Palo Alto as a centralized firewall within your network to control the traffic or to centrally manage the traffic. You can go ahead and purchase the network virtual appliance for Palo Alto and configure uh, within your Azure cloud and within the further within the VNet to control how the traffic will flow between the different subscriptions, VNets, or your subnets. So this is it, friends. In this lecture, we have studied that, okay, what are user-defined routes, and then with the example, or what are the different type of hops or next hop we can provide it, and then the network virtual appliances. So this is it, friends, in this lecture. Thank you for watching this lecture. Meet you in the next lecture.